All right, welcome friends, potters, glaze enthusiasts. Would you believe me if I told you that this glaze was the same exact glaze as this glaze? Almost unbelievable, I know. But in this video, I'm going to explain my glaze testing process, and then I'll show you some of the results I've gotten from the last round of glaze tests, and then I'll tell you how I can get two completely different results from one glaze. Sometimes. Not always, but some of the time. So let's start with the process. I'm always on the lookout for glazes, new glazes to try, some I find interesting. I'll take something that I like, and usually I just mix it up as it is, and then test it on some different clay bodies just to see what I get. So here's some different clay bodies that I've tested things on. I usually use just one clay body, but it's good to have options for different projects or whatever. If I get some good results, I'll take that glaze and I'll just kind of fine tune it a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't fit my clay body quite right. Maybe it crazes a little bit. So I'll lower the expansion, or I will add a little bit more color in, or a little bit less, or more or less opacifiers, or whatever else, just to make it, a little bit more unique, a little bit more mine, and then pass all the functional tests, you do later, just to make sure your glaze is okay. So right now I'm working on fine tuning a couple glazes that I really like, that I have found, but need just some adjustments. Like a couple of them the expansion needs to be a little bit lower. A couple of them I just want just a little bit different look. I'm trying to get a good flux glaze that won't blister, that will look good over all my different glazes. So I've taken a couple glazes and done some kind of little line blend tests with different colorants or opacifiers. And then here's how I double my glaze results. I'd make two test tiles of the same glaze, and then I'll glaze them both, fire them, let them cool, just a normal cooling cycle, and then I'll take one of the glazed tiles and run it back through a bisque fire to test how well it will work for decals. And I've found that a decal firing really makes a difference on some glazes. It kind of acts like a slow cool. Generally a regular or faster cool will give you a bit more gloss on a glaze. Slower cool will make it a little bit more matte. And I have found that my glazes that have iron in them, it'll bring out the red and the iron a little bit more. So bisque firing kind of does the same thing as a slow cool for me. So that's how I can get some different results from the same glaze, which is kind of cool. So some glazes come out the exact same or almost the same out of an additional bisque fire. Some of them just change dramatically. So let's take a look at some of the results I got from my last round of glaze tests. I found a glaze called Seltzer Timoku. I believe it's John Britt's mid-fire glaze book. Came out of there. It's on Glazy. A couple different versions, I think. So I have adjusted it and lowered the expansion a little bit. And now I'm just trying to figure out just the right amount of iron and magnesium carbonate. So here is what it looks like. This one, just a regular cool right out of the glaze fire. This one ran back through a bisque fire after I applied a test to decal. You can barely see the decal on that one. So that's just iron in this Seltzer Timoku glaze. Here is same glaze, same amount of red iron oxide as the last tile, but added 9% magnesium carbonate. And so you can see, here's the regular glaze. Here it is after it went through a decal firing. And so this one, if the glaze is thick enough, that decal really stands out. And I love the surface. A little bit more matte, kind of a satin matte. And lots of gold, but underneath you can see the red kind of shining through. So really nice. That's probably one of my favorites that came out of there. Here's another one, regular glaze. 9% iron this time, same glaze, the same base recipe, the Seltzer Timoku that I adjusted. And then here is the decal firing. This one, the decal doesn't show up well, but look at I don't know if you can see much of the color in there. It's got some really interesting colors coming through. If it was a little thicker, it would be probably really cool. And then I think this is my favorite out of everything. It's Seltzer Timoku with 9% red iron oxide and 3% magnesium carbonate. So I like the regular glaze, or glaze coming out of the regular firing, mid-fire, cone 6. And then here it is coming out after it goes back into a decal firing or a bisque firing to about 0.4. So I mean, just some really nice results there. So I think that one's going to be one I'll pursue for sure. And then same glaze, same base glaze with just 12% iron, no extra magnesium. And this one, I don't know how well you can see the regular and then the bisque with the decal test on the back. Both of them really look nice, but I like this a little bit darker, but you can see where it's thicker. Some of the gold or the yellow is kind of showing up more. So that could be interesting, especially over some texture. I might, try some more things with that as well. And then, I've got one more of the Seltzer Tomoku, 12%, but then this time I added a little bit, 6% magnesium carbonate. So regular, I don't know if I've been very consistent, regular glaze firing and then going back into a bisque fire. And then the decal doesn't show up great, but I mean, that brick red is really nice. And then I also have been testing just kind of a base glaze from Digital Fire. It's called Transparent Base, and it's got a number. I didn't write down the number yet, but here it is, just out of the Glaze Fire with 8% red iron oxide. And then here, same glaze, but going back through a bisque fire to test a decal. So you can see the decal show up a little bit, but pretty nice. And then here's same glaze, same base glaze with 12% red iron oxide. I really like, this is almost black coming out of a regular firing with just a regular cooling cycle. And then here it is going back through a decal fire. Kind of a nice, another nice kind of a brick red. And then here's the transparent base. This one's only got 4% red iron oxide, but I added 2% titanium dioxide to this one. And I think this one came out a little thin. So if I thicken it up, it might be a little different. But then here's how it comes out of going back through a decal firing or a bisque firing. And I love how the decal shows up on this one. So for decal pots, I might pursue this. And I don't know, where it's thicker, like I usually dip one corner second time to see what it looks like, a little bit thinner, a little bit thicker. I mean, it's got some really nice surface where it gets a little thicker, kind of variance, dark to light, kind of almost like a speckle. So that could be worth checking out. And then I've also done some flux glazes. This is, we'll just call it flux number 1 on a blue, over my blue glaze that I use. So you can see, and I believe the flux had, no, I didn't write it down, but a certain amount of titanium dioxide in the flux glaze. And so it's got some little crystals coming in, drips down nice, looks good. Here's the same flux over the Seltzer Tomoku that I was showing you earlier that had 9% red iron oxide and 9% magnesium carbonate. Both look pretty good. The only problem is this one, so flux number 1 over the Seltzer Tomoku is crazing just a little bit. I don't know if you can even see it on the video, but it's crazing just a little bit. So I'm going to try and lower the expansion on maybe both of them and see if I can get that to work, both glazes to work together, because it's got some really nice crystals along the bottom where it drips down and gets thicker. And I think if I add a little bit more, maybe even some iron or a little bit more titanium dioxide, we'll get a nice look where it drips down. And then here's flux number 2 over those same 2 glazes, over the blue. You can see this one's a little bit more, the flux is a little bit more glossy. Not quite the same amount of crystal formation. And then here it is over the Seltzer Tomoku. The only problem with this one, I got some a little bit more blistering with this flux glaze, so that's something I'll have to figure out there. There's a whole bunch more glaze tests that I did, but I feel like those were my favorites out of all of them. So I'm getting really close to having some new glazes to put into production. I will lower the expansion on a couple of them. Then I'll mix up some larger amounts, actually do some real pots, some mugs or bowls or something. And then I'll run some, some of the basic tests. We'll do like a boiling water. We'll do the lemon test. We'll do kind of a knife mark test, just to make sure they will function properly. So stay tuned for more glaze testing. If you're into that kind of thing, hit your subscribe button or whatever. And hopefully I'll share some more results relatively soon. All right, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.